after we moved to Wyoming, my brother thought we were crazy. He couldn't understand what we were thinking moving from Chicago to here. So he came out to have a look. And after he'd been here about half an hour, he said, "Hey, are there any other houses for sale around here?"
Oh my gosh.
But he actually bought the one. He's now next door but one neighbors. So in Wyoming, that means he lives 3.5 miles away. So when Too Close to Home came out, because we're in southern Wyoming, they wanted to do the launch event at a bookstore in Denver, in Colorado, called The Tattered Cover. So I called him up and said, do you want to come to this event with me? And he said, yeah, sure. And so we figured it made more sense just to go in one car. And he wanted to go in his car so that he could smoke. So he drove us down there. And you know what it's like when you're getting ready to do an event. All you're really thinking about is the event. You're thinking, I hope I don't say anything ridiculous. I hope I don't forget my own name. I hope I don't trip over my feet on the way to the stage.
You hope that someone comes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the biggest for me.
Yeah. So I was totally focused on the event. Fortunately, it went pretty well. But then on the way back, he said to me, all right, well, I drove down, you drive back. And it's only later when I see how carefully he planned this whole thing, because it's January and we're in northern Colorado crossing into southern Wyoming. So the weather is horrendous. We've got this ground blizzard going on where there's this snow and ice blowing horizontally in front of the car. We cannot see a thing. I said to him when we left, I said, it's 50-50 whether we wind up at home or whether we wind up in a ditch.
A wise person would have just got a hotel.
Yeah, but
the brothers do not get a hotel.
No,
they will soldier on.
We set off to drive home, so we were driving home. There was no debate. So I'm driving along, and I'm having to focus really hard on not crashing the car. And just sort of very casually, my brother says to me, I'm thinking of retiring. And so if I was a nice person, I would have said to him, yes, absolutely, you should retire. You've worked so hard for all of these years. You've brought all of this pleasure to all of the readers who love your books. You should just take some time, enjoy the fruits of your labor, and have a lovely retirement. But I'm not a nice person. So instead I said to him, what do you mean retire? What's going to happen to Reacher? Because the thing is, I'm the oldest Reacher fan in the world. I was the first person to have ever read a Reacher book. Because the boot 25 years ago was on the other foot. I had a really good job in the telecoms industry, and he was out of work and broke. And he decided that the way he was going to fix this problem of having no money was to write books, because we all know that's a good idea, right?
Yeah, right. Fast track to massive wealth, 100% of the time.
What do you do with all those yachts?
So,
money.
Problem.
Yeah. So he writes the first Reacher book, Killing Floor, and it's on yellow paper written in pencil. And he sends it to me to read because he knows that I'm really the only thriller reader in the family. And I remember opening the envelope, looking at the first page, because I'm terrified for two reasons. Because I'm thinking, what if the book is terrible?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to call my big brother and say, listen, I'm sorry, but your book sucks. Who wants to do that? I didn't want to do that. But then it came with a practical consideration too, because if it had sucked, he had no job. So what was going to happen was I'm going to have to send him food parcels. Was I going to have to let him live in my bedroom? What was going to happen? So luckily the book was fabulous, and I didn't have to say those things. And, the rest was history. But I've been a Reacher fan for more than a quarter of a century. And Reacher had almost become like a kind of extra imaginary brother. When we hung out together, we would always say, oh, what would Reacher do about this? What would Reacher do about that? What would he, if something would come on the news, or we'd see something happening at a baseball game or a soccer game, and we'd say, well, what would Reacher do about that? So it's this entity that's kind of existed between us for all of these years. And I just couldn't stand the idea that there wouldn't be any more Reacher books. And I certainly couldn't stand the idea that it would be my fault that there were no more Reacher books. So really, that was what tipped the balance for me. The other thing was, I can't quite remember how he phrased it, but it was almost like a kind of challenge involved in what he said. Maybe you'd like to join me, or maybe you'd like to start writing, something like that. And whatever it was, it struck me as a bit of a challenge. And I'm terrible. If anything is like a challenge, I've got myself into so much trouble over the years. You guys were talking about things that you did that were impulsive or whatever. For me, the things that have been that have caused me the most grief have always been the things that have sounded like a challenge that I couldn't walk away from. So
it's almost like he knew you.
Yeah, when I was little, my dad would, if there was something he thought I couldn't, that was a bit of a challenge, he would always say, "Oh no, Andrew will never be able to do that." And that meant, I would do it twice and take photographs. And it was only when I was older that I realized he knew all along what he was doing. So
That's awesome.
So that came about. It was all in his car driving back from that book event. And it was a while ago now. And so we've got 2 under our belt. Well, one is out in the world, Better Off Dead Comics. And we're already working on the next one, because he had this thing where he like I said, he was out of work when he started writing. He got fired from his job on August 31st. So he started writing Killing Floor on September the 1st. So he has this long-running, almost superstition, this tradition that he has to start the next book on September 1st. So September 1st this year, we started the